Okay. Well, it's 6:34, and I'll begin with the introduction. Just pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and Governor Healy's March 28th, 2025 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting of the Great Barrington Board of Health will be conducted via remote participation only. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at townofgb.org. Committee members and members of the public may attend this meeting remotely and see instructions at the top of the agenda. Every effort will be made to ensure that those attending remotely can access the proceedings in real time via technological means. That being said, we'll call the meeting to order with a roll call. Peter Stanton,
Aye.
Dr. Ruby Chang,
Here.
and I'm here as well, Michael Lanu. And I'll ask your forgiveness now. My lab, speaking of before, he's crying because dinner time is still going on upstairs. So in case you hear some forlorn cries, it's him. I guess our first order of business is approval of minutes from March. And I've looked at
Ready for a
those.
motion?
Yep, I am.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for March.
I second.
And the roll call will be Peter,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. First order of business will be the review of Board of Health mission statement.
Okay, we can do that first since Nina's here, but
Yep.
we do have Board of Health questions and updates before
Oh,
that.
I missed it?
But do you want to just go right to the mission statement since Nina's
Oh.
here?
Yeah.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry, I skipped right by that.
No problem. All right, and when Nina's coming on, I will get the drafts up so we can all look at them together.
Good evening, Nina.
Hi. Okay, can you see that?
Not yet.
No?
It says that you're screen sharing. And then it says double click to enter full screen.
There it is.
Now I see it. Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
I don't think that's the one I want. Okay, can you see these three options?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let me try to make my computer run faster. All right, awesome. Okay, so these, I don't know if you saw these the last time, these three versions that Nina had put together for us. But after our last meeting in March, Nina and I got together and we really kind of tailored that first option based on the discussion that you all had. So just opening it back up, Nina, if you want to add anything in, please feel free to, but no pressure if this needs to be talked about for another meeting, but I think this will be the last meeting that we have Nina available.
Okay. Well, I'm hopeful we can come to a conclusion.
Yeah, we kind of just we shortened it and added more about like the daily things that you guys do, like more specific items. So I feel like it's definitely hopefully more of what you're looking for, but yeah.
I like the first one. I just feel it needs to seems like it's provide equal access to what? I think I understand what is meant by that, but it seems like it's missing a two. Otherwise, the rest of it,
I think we meant like equal access to like services, like health services. If I don't know if that's
Yeah, equal access to a sanitary environment, equal access to health services. Just, the state, I don't know if we went into this, but DPH is really like putting out an overarching mission statement that um, no matter what your zip code is, that you should have the same access to public health services. And that becomes important because, when you're in a rural set, we have 351 towns in Massachusetts, we have 351 boards of health.
Mhm.
Not every single town has a functioning health department. And so responsibilities of septic systems, responsibilities for food establishments, housing, all of that would fall on the Board of Health. And so as you can imagine, not every community is getting the same quality of regulation enforcement, access to services. So that's why we kind of put that in there.
I'm
So maybe we could just say that, access to,
I'm a big fan of number 3.
Access to what?
oh, number 3 option?
Yeah, I think number 3 says it all more succinctly.
Yeah, there it says access to health services. I like 1 or 3, so. I would be happy with either.
Don't want to have any more discussion on it. Well, Ruby, do you have thoughts on any one of them? Do you want to scrap all of them? Start over?
Um, it's a little confusing in the beginning what equal access means. Does that mean equal access throughout the state, equal access to different people? It's a little awkward the way
Where
it's
it's placed in the sentence.
yeah, it makes me feel like how do we do that? How do we make sure that everyone's equal? And the other two, I had problems with the fact that environment should be included as part. It's not just health, but it's also environment. So environment is our health. If there's a degradation of environment, it certainly can affect our health in many ways, which we have found out throughout the years more recently than before, such as poor air quality, such as poor drinking water. Are those part of what we do, or are we just focused on disease and illness prevention? So, and the middle one, it talks about data-driven assessment, policy development, education, and equal access to essential health services. And I didn't quite understand what essential health services mean. Does that mean we provide services? Does that mean we help them to get access to health services? I mean,
On the
yeah,
third one, I like
so
that it promotes those things as opposed to necessarily delivering them itself.
right,
Well, in the context of your health department, health services would mean like, state code enforcement. So making sure that your public swimming pools are safe, making sure that when you go out to eat or when you buy food from somewhere, it's, to the best of our ability, been prepared in a safe food handling way. Those are the types of health services that the health department provides. Um, occasionally we expand on that. And if someone comes in looking for resources for like recovery, we could point them in the direction of the Rural Recovery Center or, you know, VIM or whatever. But, you know, that type of health service is not our function.
Mm-hmm.
Could we,
Go ahead, Peter.
on,
Go ahead, Peter.
on number 3, I was thinking, could we add something like, and, I don't know, environmental protection, or it feels like it's just missing those couple keywords that Ruby had mentioned, but otherwise I'm still liking the promotes and the simplicity of the other words.
I'd like to see something about maybe instead of health, access to health services, it's code, like you just mentioned, Rebecca, code enforcement, or whatever the best way to say that is, because that's a big part of what the
But
health.
you know, through the vaccine clinics or whatever other things, there's a, you know, a promotion of health services in the community.
Health services and code enforcement, something like that.
I would have thought that code enforcement would have been loosely covered by the word policy.
Oh, I was thinking of policy as in our regulations
Right.
we have separate from the state, but maybe
Say, you know, state and local regulations.
No, I think policy is good enough. You don't need to be more specific because glyphosate is not a state policy, but we promote it in our town. So we don't want to limit what is the definition of policy. I was thinking if we just add what you had put there on the 3rd, which is very broad, but at the same time covers. So it's to promote community well-being, which is what we're here for, which is great. And I would just add, if possible, if I don't know what you guys think, I really like the idea of data-driven assessment. So, because we're not making up assessments in our head, we're looking at the evidence-based, you know, something that is proven to be true in our assessment. We know that having septic systems too close to your drinking water is not a good idea because we have data that has proven that it's not a good idea. Not because it's just we think it has a good idea, but it's something that is data driven. There are specific reasons why we do what we do. If it's an exemption, we do many exemptions, and exemptions, we have to look at the data-driven assessments and make a decision on our own.
Why not evidence-based instead of data-driven?
Or evidence-based, that's great. We can do data-driven or evidence-based assessment, policy, education, and environmental sanitation, or environmental protection, or environmental
Yeah, I think sanitation is, I understand where it came from, but I think that could throw it off in a different direction than, because I think we're trying to say that we're keeping an eye out to the environment while we do these other things. Whereas sanitation sounds like we're sanitizing the environment.
Right, and that's and I think environmental protection is probably a better idea. Like we want to protect the environment from smoke, from contaminants in drinking water. Yeah, so the sanitation for some reason means you want to clean something up. And
Do-
we do, we do
just,
more than that, I think.
do you prefer protection of the environment or environmental protection?
And protection of the environment.
The only reason I would have gone the other way is I think well, actually, I guess it could go either way with this. I was just thinking about the environment, could be, could be a space or a room or something. It doesn't have to be, what we're talking about in terms of the environment or
The landscape?
the natural environment that we're trying to protect.
What about promotion of environmental health? Because when you start talking in terms like environmental protection, you start thinking of the EPA, and that's
Right.
more their specific mandate. And if we have promotion that like it up in number one, it talked about environmental health, and if we say promotion of environmental health, it more brings it down to. It seems to fit better with a Board of Health statement rather than a.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
and
I
it
like
allows
that.
us some. It allows us some weight. What do you call that? Latitude too, in what we do and how we do it.
Right. I like that.
Okay.
So we're using promotion twice in that sentence, and in the beginning, I'm just wondering if one-time use can apply to everything.
Mhm.
So we're promoting the promotion of community well-being. Does the community well-being specifically refer to people, or does that include the environment?
Okay. So first and foremost, I might, what do you think about moving whatever version of environmental health to the top? Because that is, well, we have a full-time staff member who that's like 100% of their job is exclusively environmental health. That's what the health inspector does. So I would argue that the majority of what the health department does is environmental health, sanitation, however you want to phrase that. So maybe moving that to the top. Again, this is you don't
Yep.
have to
No,
hold
you're
any
on
of
a
that.
roll. So promotion of environmental health and
And then figuring out
community
how
well-being.
to rephrase,
No, I think you're good. Just keep going. So promotion of environmental health and community well-being through evidence-based assessment, policy, education, and then we can stop there.
Or maybe the town of Great Barrington Board of Health promotes environmental well-being through. Does that make? I don't know.
Sorry, what did you say, Nina?
Got it.
The town of Great Barrington Board of Health promotes environmental well-being. I think it's just replace community with environmental.
Environmental health, sorry. Environmental health and community well-being through evidence-based assessment, policy, and education.
That's good.
Okay. All right.
It must be promotes. Yeah.
Okay, so another caveat is that when we started this process last month, I said, this mission statement you could maybe consider it being exclusively like for the Board of Health as a way of kind of discerning like what topics you want to focus on. But this mission statement kind of it includes the health department and what we do on a day-to-day basis. So do you want to differentiate like the town of Great Barrington's Board of Health and Health Department, or do you want to just kind of keep it in that as a general mission statement? I mean, we're not separate. We are your
Well,
agents.
The Board of Health, I don't quite understand whether the Board of Health includes all of us.
Well, strictly
Or
speaking,
I was thinking the Board of Health is basically just
Yes, us three.
is just that us three, right?
Yes.
So do you want a mission statement for the Board of Health or the Health Department?
Well, that's what I asked you. Yeah, like do you want this mission statement to reflect how you move going forward?
I think it should be both. Simply put both in there because
Yeah.
it's one is they go hand in hand, you know. You can't you could have a health department but without a board. I know some towns have it's different in each town. The smaller towns may not have a board like we do, so I think it would be good to say both.
How about we just put in Department of Public Health?
Well, I
We are a department. And the Board of Health is part of that, right?
I think technically it's a separate category.
Yeah, we're the public who are we're representing the public as board members.
Hmm.
So I think it's more words than I'd love to see, but I think we probably should write the Town of Great Barrington Department of Health and Board of Health promotes. Just put them both in there.
Mhm.
You could say the department, the health department and its board.
Yeah, and it's board. That's good.
Well, okay. That is good, but just sorry. I don't want it to be confused that like the health department comes first and then the board, because as I said, we're your agents. So, you know, we're not going to do anything without
No,
your
no,
instruction.
no, Rebecca, you are the agent for the town, and we are the advisory board.
Actually, she's an agent of us because I think strictly speaking, the board is tasked with doing all the things that the agent does. But we nominate agents to actually carry out the physical tasks. But technically, like in some towns, the health, how is it now? But I think that's how it is because we have to vote on an agent to allow them to take up our powers. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. And that's why
I wasn't part of the, we're not part of the hiring and firing process, though.
no, the agent, but the agent conducts the official duties like a septic inspection because we have made them our agent. That's why they're technically an agent of the Board of Health. Like when we have temporary people come in, we have to vote on them being agents.
So the Board of Health and its agents promote?
It could be that too, yes. Yeah. Even though we have an inspector position, he's technically an agent of the board to carry out those duties. Otherwise, it would be like the public nursing. Technically, that's something we would have to do, but because we don't have those particular professionals, we have to contract out that service.
There is that, right? I think we're getting at that whole thing of where we're somehow independent of the town. I actually think probably we should have had more say over the hiring, but it kind of
Yeah.
slipped into the
the-
town system.
In the charter, there was because that was that big. We had a big row years ago, myself and one of the town managers, because there'd always been this informal thing where the Board of Health would run ads and they would they'd hire their new agent, and then that was called into question, and then and there was all sorts of the charter was looked at, the town council weighed in on it, and it was deemed that actually it was the town manager who did the specific hiring, but there was kind of always an informal understanding. So I remember being
Well, I thought the opposite of that because I thought that somehow this board is supposed to be have some independence from the town.
we do in the sense that our mandate is from the state in terms of our code enforcement abilities, but there is that part in the town charter that talks about the hiring and the firing of agents.
I'd be so interested to see what the board of, the state board of health advisors would say about that, and if it's just Great Barrington that's stuck something in their charter.
They did. I think it depends. It depends what's in the town charter, because back a number of years ago, I went through all this and had Cheryl Sabara help looked at it, and of course the MAHB was weighting the opinion towards it. We had that ability, but it was actually the town manager who did. So our agents report to us in terms of what we want to see happen, but the town manager is technically their boss in terms of setting salary and working for the town. It's one of those kind of a little bit of each. But when push comes to shove, technically, town manager is the boss of a town employee when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Well,
But
I
I
have four
do remember.
I have four
some-
bosses.
Yes,
But I
right.
remember if we overrule, we can overrule the select board, right?
Oh, I forget the nitty gritty of it, but I think it depends on the issue. I think if you had a situation where the town manager wanted to get rid of the Board of Health agent, the Board of Health could go to the select board and appeal that, because the town manager works for the select board, as far as
No, I was talking more like policy development and.
Oh, yes, we are independent on that. We can
Yeah,
pass.
we're independent, so whatever,
Yes,
when we think this is a public health issue that would benefit the town,
yes,
and they say no, we have a right to appeal that, or we have the right to overrule them.
yes, we can act
No.
independently,
Yeah,
except for when it comes to the financial aspect of it. We don't have the power of the purse.
but you can set
Okay,
regulation
here's listen to this.
independently. Oh,
Yep.
sorry, Peter.
Sorry, no, I totally
town
interrupted
meeting.
you. So Gemini on a search brought up a paragraph for you. In Massachusetts, local boards of health, like the one in Great Barrington, I don't know how it knew that we were in Great Barrington because I didn't put that in the search, said are generally independent of the town management. They are responsible for protecting public health within their respected communities, and the select board often acting as the board of health if no other arrangement is made. These boards of health have the authority to set policy and make regulations, and they are not directly overseen or controlled by the town management.
Yes,
Right, because we're under the state. We're under the state public health.
right.
As a decentralized governance structure defined. Yeah, anyway.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, if you look up the town charter, there is some.
I know, but what I'm thinking is there's a chance the town charter came after the Board of Health setup, and they may or may not be correct in the way they worded that.
It's true, but to get it changed, well, when Rebecca retires, we can have at it with the current town government and get that fixed.
I don't know. We're here between management right now.
That's
Now's the time.
true. Now's the time, 11th hour, just slip it in.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
but I
if we
think
want to talk about charter changes at some point, I've gone down that rabbit trail, so we can talk about how to do that if you want to.
I'm not suggesting we do any of that. I'm just was curious because I think that there's a little even more independence, and we're operating a certain way, and it's fine.
Yes,
But I think there's a little more independence.
yes, and I think vaguely speak from my memory, MAHB was brought that up many a time in that previous episode. But so Town of Great Barrington Health Department and local Board of Health. That it's a little wordy, but it's
Well,
kind
you
of
also said, or the Board of Health and its agent. Which do you prefer?
How about we,
The Great Barrington.
town Great,
No, I
How
don't think
about-
we need the word local. I think we just need the Town of Great Barrington Health Department and Board of Health promotes.
that works.
the other option is the Board of Health and its agents promote. And then the rest of the sentence.
Could be
We
that
already
too.
know this is for the town of Great Barrington, so we don't need to put that in there. We could just put Board of Health and its agents promote.
Yeah, I mean, so I like the idea of us having the same mission statement anyway, and so I think we should head down this path. But where are we going to be using this, and is there a benefit to keeping Great Barrington in there, or is it always going to be in the context of the website, some other materials that make it clear that it's Great Barrington?
Yeah, it's gonna be in the context of other materials. Mission statements are usually part of a charter, actually.
So let's go with the Board of Health and its agents.
Okay,
I like that. It's a little less wordy,
yeah,
gets the point across. This is one of those instances where a 3-member board is actually quite useful. A larger board, and I serve on one, when you at a recent meeting of that board, which everyone knows, I suggested, why doesn't our commission write a letter? And that was all the wide eyes, and I said, we do it often. We've done it many times over at the Board of Health, right? Write letters to that and the eyes grew wide, and I said, it's a little bit daunting task, but it can be achieved. So it's nice to have the 3 of us. You can get through things like this without a lot of back and forth.
I think it's good. I think number 3 is ready to go.
Okay.
I like it. That's
The,
perfect.
are we gonna have 1 agent or 2 agents? Should it have an S on the end?
Yes, it should.
What do you think, Nina?
I think it looks good.
We winnowed it down quite a bit, but
Mhm.
it's just distilled and it's good.
It's always good to keep it short.
How about we put in there, the mission of the Board of Health and its agents is to promote.
It's
That
fine.
way it makes it complete.
Sure.
That's it.
Awesome.
So we don't want to say anything about code enforcement? You think that's embodied up in the, because it's not
Yeah, it's
education.
in the policy.
The policy is
There's
usually,
policy in there.
you think that covers it in policy? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're satisfied, should you vote on it?
Sure.
Sure, we can vote.
If it becomes a problem in the future, we know how to fix it or to change, amend, I should say. So I'll look for a motion to approve this statement.
I make a motion to approve our new mission statement.
Just need
Oh,
a second.
Do you want to say what it is?
No.
No, okay.
It'll be
I
all there.
second.
Okay,
Right.
roll call is Peter,
Aye.
Ruby,
I,
and I vote aye as well. All right, and thank you, Nina.
Thanks, Nina.
Welcome. It's nice to meet all of you.
Yes, same here. Okay, so now we'll go back up to Board of Health questions and updates. Of which I won't begin, but I do have some quasi updates. But do you, Ruby or Peter, have anything?
I don't have anything.
All right, so I've had a few phone calls with Dan Hall. If you remember, he works for DEP. I think Rebecca, he's the section chief. I forget his official title. It's in my email, but
Look it up.
he's at. To put it simply, they are trying to be very proactive about this coming season. And they have some things in the works that he has asked me not to disclose at this point, but until they have it nailed down exactly what they want to do. But they're very aware and they're aware of that the fact that the manganese filtration is not going to be in place till next season. So that we're facing another season. And they're trying to get ahead of this coming season as much as possible. And they're working on some means to do so, which I hope to be able to share as soon as they make it official of what they're trying to do. But it is encouraging that I've gotten a few phone calls from them, just kind of updating me that, and he hasn't gone into big detail either. Just wanted me to let me know that there are conversations going on. They are thinking and trying to get ahead of this coming season. And that's a first. I can't say that we've ever had anyone from DEP reaching out that often or that regularly. And I'll take it as an encouraging sign at this point, since communication is better than no communication. And hopefully what they're working on will pan out. And and hopefully we'll have a milder season than we had last year. I guess that's the wild card. We just don't know. So that would be my only update. And we'll see where it goes from there. And I have not heard anything from David. He has assured me that once he heard any news about any movement on the legal front, he would let me know. So still no, nothing has changed there. Still waiting for a date with the appeals. And I received a call from Mike Hugo over the last month, and he had heard some things through the grapevine, and he just wanted me to know that they were still very, very much supportive of what we were doing and would make every effort to voice that support to anyone who had questions. And like all things like that, how much of it is actually off the cuff conversations that people overhear or what, I don't know, but everyone's still on board with our legal efforts. So that's good insofar as where we are and where we hope to be. But yeah, definitely looking at another season, and let's just hope that it's not as bad as last year. All right, well, if there's no other questions or updates. Oh, one question I had, Rebecca, did anyone from the high school ever get in touch with the health department? I mean, I rarely receive emails up through the town portal, but usually when people take the time to send them, they usually respond, and they never responded back to me, or I wondered if they'd ever gotten in touch with you, and I'm guessing not.
I don't think so, but I did get an email about a Memorial Day fundraiser.
Oh.
I got that yesterday from Lucy Dehoney, class of 2027. Yeah, she wants to, it sounds like they're organizing like a food related fundraiser.
This was something different, so okay, well, I guess I don't have anything else. So we can go down to the second point under business, which is the comparison of solid waste hauler guidelines and best practices, which comes from the Department of Public Health and up against our regulations that we passed in 2018. Wow, it's 2018 we did that. Seems like another world, another time, I should say.
Well, this has been something that we've been meaning to do for a while. DEP put out these best practices for municipalities developing private hauler regulations in May of 2022. And this, I think the main reason to maybe edit, amend to be more in line with these best practices is that this template is compliant with the municipal waste ban, which I'm not sure that our solid waste hauler regulations are. Meaning, like, you know, you're holding the waste haulers accountable for ensuring that they're not picking up things on that waste ban, which like include mercury. Let me get the list.
I think textiles on there too.
Sorry, yeah. Just going from memory, I think like mattresses is in 2022 mattresses was put on that waste ban list. Wood, metal, recyclable paper, plastic, single polymer plastics, glass containers, tires, leaves.
These are things they're not supposed to pick.
These are things that you're not supposed to put in your
In
trash
solid
pickup.
waste.
In your trash. Oh, so when it says glass, that means that those things are supposed to be separated out.
Metal and glass containers, yes, they're supposed to be separated out. And again, that's another thing, like our regulations doesn't really, it doesn't differentiate between recyclables and just single stream waste.
Mhm.
Um,
How is that enforced? How is that? I mean,
that was my question too, but when I read through this, it sounds like DEP has waste ban compliance inspectors. 1 second, I highlighted it.
So there are people that actually, I know that from the Springfield Municipal, is that there are people that actually will dig into the trash periodically. And they can actually fine you if they see these banned substances in your trash. But that's only in Massachusetts. So let's say the solid waste goes to New York State or goes down to Connecticut, then we don't really know what happens to them. And I don't know, but I think the first thing we need to do is to make sure we only have two landfills in Massachusetts. So as time goes on, it will become a lot more expensive to pay people to haul the trash to Virginia, to West Virginia, down to the Carolinas, down to across the state, to the mid-Atlantic states. So what we're trying to do is reduce the solid waste as much as possible through recycling. And in order to do that, you have to have certain regulations. And as you all know, the town of Pittsfield has just started their curbside hauling for solid waste and recyclables. So the whole city is doing it as a part of their services. We don't do that here. We have 3 separate haulers, and they each haul their waste to different places. Casella brings it up to Pittsfield. I know that Rogers and Barbados probably bring them in other places. I know Rogers brings them all the way to Springfield. So we have to kind of consolidate what is a requirement for that is equitable to everyone, because the town isn't enforcing everyone to have curbside recycling and and waste disposal. So we have to regulate, and the regulations will support us in getting more grants through our points that we get from the DEP. We will get grants coming back in the thousands of dollars to help us do a better job. So there's an incentive to doing this better. And I think we have, because permits are, you have to do them first of the year, right? They have to be ready to go first of the year. So we have about, the rest of this year till December to really finalize this. And we would need hearings from the haulers to determine whether they agree, what their thoughts were. And we would have to have hearings from the community members as well. As you well know, we recently almost lost our recycling center transfer station. And so how do we help the town to support all of the things that the town has to take care of? So it's pretty complicated, because when we go to the transfer station and we put a lot of our, let's say we put 50% of what we throw out in recycling, it adds to the tonnage that is hauled to Springfield, to the municipal recycling facility. And they actually pay us back for the tonnage that was sent there. So we have a certain tonnage of fiber products, such as cardboard. We actually get money back. So the more we recycle, the more benefit it is for the town. And it's better for environment, if anything. So, one of the things that we really need to look at is how do we promote this in our private sector as well as in our public sector, which is the transfer station.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Ruby. I didn't realize that, but these guidelines are not only for residential waste hauling, but it gives you the language if you wanted to incorporate like corporate or like businesses in this regulation. Currently, we just regulate, residential. But there's that whole gap of, the businesses in town and what are they doing? Are they compliant? And some of those may be food establishments, so they might be subjected to the composting requirements that if you have less than half a ton in food waste, you have to or no, if you have a half a ton in food waste, you have to compost it. I'm going to pull these up because I think you should maybe just at this first meeting look at the purpose of these regulations. I think that might help guide you.
Yeah.
I'll get them.
So there was a recent webinar that focuses, brought up by the Mass DEP, that reviews the Green Community Act and helps to determine what we could do to promote better waste management and also to support recycling as much as possible. There's a whole department of people at the Mass DEP, and that's all they do. And we also were able to get a lot of things back. For example, we could get compost bins. We could get bigger hauling garbage carts. So these are all, and they also would recommend separating glass, because glass actually has less value than plastic. and it goes to a separate site. So a lot of this, and also things that you couldn't recycle, such as lithium batteries. As you well know, we've had quite a few lithium battery fires. You know, people, they don't really understand about lithium batteries. They throw them in the dumpster and that could catch on fire. And there's been multiple fires in the eastern part of the state that we don't hear very much about, but it's becoming more and more of a problem. So, so I think that as the Board of Health, we need to kind of get updated on this information to be able to support the Mass DEP and also to support our climate. And as you well know, if we ended up having a very expensive transfer station, it was assessed at over $70,000 that the town has to use to support the transfer station. If we don't have the funding for that, and we aren't able to keep it up, people are going to start to throw trash because they can't afford to have private haulers, and they can't afford to go to the because there's no transfer station. People may decide to start throwing their waste on the side of the road. And then what is that going to end up being is that it's a drinking water hazard. It is a environmental hazard. And so it could create a lot of problems. So moving forward, I think it's really important to look at this and to think about how can we tighten up the permits that would be for the town as well as for the private haulers, to make sure that we're doing everything we're supposed to. So for example, there's a lot of banned materials that should not be in the waste, such as lead batteries, leaves, tires, white goods, yard trash, aluminum containers, metal, glass, single polymer plastic, recyclable paper, cathode ray tubes, asphalt, metal, wood, gypsum, mattresses and textiles. So the more we can make this up to date, I think the better it becomes for our town. So I just hopefully that you'll get a chance to look through this material and we can talk about it and go over any comments and bring it out for public hearing so that we could get this passed before our next permit cycle. Rebecca?
Yeah, do we have is there a way that's highlighted for the changes, or is it that comprehensively different that it's basically, I mean, is it easy as, oh, there's just a few simple changes, or is there a lot of? I'm just
I
curious.
don't, yeah, no, it's not really set up where we could just add in renewed language. It's really like, again, we don't have anything regarding recycling in our policy, or sorry, in our regulation.
What does this have for regulations? Because my impression was years ago there was the state handed down certain regulations about trash, whether you had private pickup or not. But maybe I'm wrong in that. Okay, I thought they had to offer recycling, but maybe not.
So in the attachment of this, I don't know if you have the same article as I do, but under attachments, there is a template of annual solid waste and recyclable reporting form for permitted haulers operating in, then it gives you a line for the town. So a lot of this is really templated to support us. So I just wanted to kind of have you guys start looking at them, see if you have, these are all suggestions, but they would, take a look at them and see if you have any Thoughts? And then we'll have to compare it with our 2018 and work on changes.
Do you know what proportion of town residents use the transfer station? Is that number known?
We'll get-
Yes.
Yeah, we can get the
Um,
number of tickets, or yeah, stickers pulled annually. What is it, Ruby? Is it around 600?
Yeah, I got that. I'm so sorry. I got it recently from it's a fair amount. I was surprised. Um, I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers with me, but yes, I do have that.
I can send it to you. I mean, I think, yeah, that's easy. We can just get the number of stickers.
That's how many stickers, so approximately 600 households, say, let's just say. And I thought did we have customer lists provided from the private haulers?
Yes. Yep.
And I wonder how many people use private haulers in the town versus the,
Look it up and get back to you.
What's the reason you wanted to look at?
I'm just curious how many people use what, I mean, ultimately it's the impact, if you have a majority of people using private waste haulers,
Uh-huh.
you're going to impact a lot more people and vice versa. If there's less and less people using private haulers.
Okay, I have it. So, so, uh, so this is coming from the town at the clerk's office. So they have two types of trash stickers, and there's unlimited, which is $550, and coincidentally, that number is exactly what the private haulers charge per year for their services per household. Okay? So as of March 24th, they have sold 78 decals. Okay? And they also have the pay-as-you-go customers, which is $85 a year. And then you have to pay for the stickers for per bag. And as of March, they have sold 482 decals. So the decals are the ones that you stick on your car so that you could do one or the other. She didn't say stickers like the ones you stick onto your bag. She was saying that 482 people want to go pay as you go, and 78 has gone with throw out as much as they want.
So is pay per you go? I mean, every time you show up, you have to weigh it or something, and then they charge.
No. So the way it works is that you have different bags. You can have a bag that is 13 gallons, which
Yeah.
is $3.50 per sticker, and you have to stick it on the bag and then you toss it.
Ah, I see. I see.
So it's called pay as you go.
So what do you buy stickers and then you?
Right. The other one is 30-gallon trash bags, and it's $7.25 per sticker. So then if a family uses up a 30-gallon trash bag, they only have to pay $7.25 per week, per bag, so to speak.
You said the annual price is 500 something,
$550.
550.
And then you have to pay extra for other things. So construction and demolition,
Yep.
bulk waste items, automobile items, computer equipment, refrigerators. there's a how to recycle pamphlet that we put together every year for the local Berkshire communities so that people could look at that pamphlet and be able to decide how to recycle their trash. Like, how do you recycle Christmas lights? How do you recycle cameras? You know, things like that. There's actually a pamphlet that people put together, and the Springfield Municipal Facilities Recovery Center had paid some of it, and Mass DEP paid some of it so that it could be printed and given to people to help them recycle.
Hmm. Interesting. And is it
So,
true to get those stickers, you have to go to town hall first to pay for stuff?
yes,
And then,
yes. So like I will get like 10 stickers and then I would use it, but I only go to the transfer station probably every month because I don't have that much garbage. All of my stuff is recycled.
Hmm.
So I don't have to pay the full cost of $550 per year. And I believe that price might even go up because that depends on the gasoline prices. Every time you have a roll-off, you know, a roll-off from the transfer station, that's $450 from the town to have to pay them to haul it out.
right.
So there's a lot of expense that goes into throwing things away. And so we need to make sure that people do throw things away and they throw it in the correct places. That is to promote health.
Why is it that they don't have that paying option at the transfer station itself? I've never understood that.
Because they don't have people handling money at the transfer station.
Ah.
Because you either have to pay by a credit card, you have to write a check, you have to, you have to do something to pay the town. And they don't want the attendants who are at the transfer station to be responsible for something like that.
Hmm.
So whenever you go there to toss something, you have to pay for it, show that you paid for it, and then you can toss it.
Hmm. Yeah, I've used it. Maybe I can count on one hand how many times I've used it to throw things away like that because it was so cumbersome to go to town hall and to go there.
But, if we can't keep it up, then we will close the transfer station. And then what are you going to do? What if you have an old washing machine? What are you going to do with that? You have to throw it somewhere. That means you have to haul it all the way up to Casella and pay their cost, which is in Pittsfield. Now you have a truck, right? Do you have a truck to,
Oh,
many
I have
people
access.
don't,
Most,
many people don't have any way of getting it out of their house. Um, if you want to dump a mattress, what do? You have to actually, I went to the Casella place up in Lennoxdale. They had a station there, and a friend of mine had to pay $100 to have her mattress thrown away.
yeah.
There are actually recycling places now that you can actually throw your mattress. So there's a lot of stuff coming. There's a whole new industry on taking mattresses apart, um, taking care of your lithium batteries, and there's all these recycling things coming up, and we need to make good use of it. Um, we're a small municipality, but we still have to do as much as we can. We're actually behind places like Egremont and Sheffield in doing what we should be doing.
Hmm. Okay, well, with that, I'll start looking at that more intently.
I
You
just
want
think
to
it's
make
good
a quick
practice.
plan for the future meeting? Do you want to keep this on the agenda?
Yeah, let's keep it on. That way we can, otherwise we'll never get into it. I don't, I don't think we're ready for public hearing time yet, but we'll make a point of reviewing it before next meeting and then maybe getting into some more details at our next meeting.
Okay,
Usually we have to go through a few meetings of looking at things and before we get into that. But like Ruby said, we've got the rest of the calendar year, so certainly by summertime, we can start to have something,
Rebecca,
formulated.
can you send us that document, the best practices for our municipalities, that document? And also send along our 2018 policies?
Yes, they're in the shared drive.
Oh, okay.
Let me share it in
Uh,
case you don't have it. Just share now.
Yep, I see them there. The draft holler regs. Is that the old ones? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll also upload my like red line version so you can read my notes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure there's like a technological way to do that, but I just did it with a pen. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so we'll have this on the next agenda and continue the conversation.
Yep. Okay. Health department updates.
All right, the rabies clinic has been planned with Belmar for Saturday, April 26th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's going to be at the fire station, just like it normally is. That's right on State Road. They have a marquee out front, and we're gonna ask to advertise the rabies clinic date and time out on that marquee, hoping that maybe like people driving by will just, keep it in their mind and come. Like I said, like attendance has really not been more than 30 animals for a 2-hour stint, and that's fine, but it's not ideal. Bill Maher's donating the rabies vaccination and their time, so just want to make it worth their while. Same as in years prior, all the proceeds that we make go to the Great Barrington Firefighters Association.
Mhm.
It's just how it's always been done since, Mark was the health agent. I think it's a nice thank you for letting us use their space every year. And they also usually keep a couple volunteers, like firefighters, there for us to do any cleanup or if we need something like setting up tables, setting up chairs. So that's nice.
Mhm.
So I think you saw my email that the Southern Berkshire Public Health Collaborative is having their quarterly meeting tomorrow, April 11th. They've switched their meeting from the Great Barrington Town Hall to the Stockbridge Town Hall. That's where Tri-Town Health Department is now located. It's in the Stockbridge Town Hall. So I imagine we'll have our meetings there. They're also remote on Zoom. So if you ever want to attend in Stockbridge or on Zoom, that's available to you. That's at 9 a.m. So did you have a chance to go through the materials? Is there anything that you want me to relay on behalf of the board? Because as you know, I'm the voting member, so for Great Barrington. So if in general, same with the Public Health Alliance, I wasn't able to make their last meeting. If there's anything that you want me to vote on specifically, that's what I'm here for.
I didn't notice anything, but is there anything you thought we should be aware of?
Oh, nothing jumped out. Let me pull up the agenda. One
I
sec.
remember looking through and saying, well, I don't.
Yeah, and they don't usually put votes on the agenda. We don't take a lot of votes actually. So I think, if something was like really moving you, I would have to kind of make that motion. Public health nursing newsletter, that I hadn't seen that before. That's really nice. I like the information that's there. It's also in that email packet. So let's see. Is there anything related to the emergency framework? We completed our emergency response framework. I can send that to you. That was an extensive document, and a lot of things that I didn't know that boards of health, I think everybody in the state is in the same boat. We didn't know that these were the entirety of Board of Health responsibilities. So at some point, we'll have to review that together. I'm going to meet with our emergency management director, and that's going to get incorporated into our town-wide emergency plan. Measles preparedness, that's something that there was a recent conversation last week, I think it was April 2nd, the Southern Berkshire Public Health Collaborative conjoined a bunch of medical professionals, schools, public health people to start talking about, Ruby was there, to start talking about what it would mean if there were a measles outbreak or just, exposure to measles in our region. Let's see. There's a resource guide in that email packet. Yeah, should be a good meeting.
Okay.
All right, and then I just wanted to mention also that there's the Earth Day cleanup happening in Housatonic on Saturday, April 9th. I think there's 2 sessions, one that begins at 8:30 and then another that begins at noontime, if that's something you're interested in.
So it sounds like Eric Gabriel is sponsoring that. The bags can be picked up at all the municipal buildings, and the town is responsible for picking up the bags the following week. So it's not just limited to Housatonic, it's also can be in any street in Great Barrington. So if you wish to pick up your trash on the side of the road of the road that you live in, and you put it on the side of the road clearly marked, or using the town trash bags, I think they were yellow last year, then the town will pick it up. So I do that every year. So every year when I lived on Blue Hill, I would pick up my segment of the trash that's people dump on the side of the road. And I've been doing that for the last 3 years on Long Pond. So I ended up having so much trash that I had to get a wheelbarrow to haul it out because there was so much. And I ended up investing in some trash pickup gloves, and you get these handles that you can pick up trash. And you dump them in. And so it really does make the environment a lot better because people don't want to have beer bottles or little liquor bottles inside their car as they're driving in case they get caught. So they throw it out the window. So every year we have so much to pick up. It's incredible. Plus plastic and Burger King and McDonald bags and people's what do you call those? That you go to the store to get those tickets for
Oh, scratch ticket.
yeah, those whatever. I pick up those all the time. And also trash that people who are second homeowners don't really pick up on their own that the bear brings into the woods.
Oh,
So I
yes.
go in the woods and pick those up too. Those I just leave in front of the person's house because
Wow.
I think I'm doing them a favor, so they should throw it out. So anyway, so it's just something to do. I do it with my husband, and you know, it's just one of those projects we do.
That's great. I have a coworker who lives on East Street in town here, and he had a major problem with those nip bottles.
Yeah,
He said it, he goes, I'm just in the far enough from, I won't name the liquor store, but you can guess what it is that, because I must just be there. And he said it was so bad, it was getting so bad, and then it was McDonald's cups that he would start collecting them, and he made an ornament of them in his yard. And he put a sign up saying like, "Thanks, litter bug." And he goes, the amount really dropped after he put this sign up in his yard.
really, I should try that.
That's what I was gonna say. He did that. He said I had to resort to shaming because it was getting so.
Well, I used to walk because I walk the road. I would start putting the cans that they toss. I would put it on the side of the road, but upright, like in a
Yeah.
pattern, so people could see it as they're driving by.
Yeah.
But it didn't do anything. So
I had someone last year who would almost every week there'd be a wine bottle on our frontage here.
yeah,
I'd look for it every week and like, oh, and then it stopped. So someone's pattern changed, but it's still unbelievable to me that people still throw stuff out their car like that. I mean,
yeah,
even on our road, it's kind of a little bit remote in some areas, and invariably throughout the summer, there's bags of fast food bags that get thrown on there, and it's just it's amazing to me that people still do that.
yeah, it is. And so, you know, I don't know. It's just one of those things I do.
Well, my hat is off to you.
So just to let everybody know, if anybody's interested to pick up the bags, and you'll have a good day to do it. And
Okay, very good. Is that it for department updates?
That is it.
All right, well, there's citizen speak time and media questions. We only have one attendee, so you want to talk, raise your hand and you can do so. Our next meeting date, what do we think for the next meeting date?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, let's look because we've got
Looks like May 1st would be the first Thursday.
that's fine right now. Yeah, I
It's only 3 weeks.
might change, but I think
Mhm.
that's okay.
Is there any way we can do it on the 8th or any reason we can't do it on the 8th?
Sure, 8th works for me.
I'll be back in town, but just barely.
All right, let's do it on the 8th then. That's good with you, Ruby?
yeah, good with me.
All right.
That if we're gonna go back to that second Thursday though, I will have to be remote as the planning board will be meeting in town hall. We can meet somewhere else.
Will there be
Well,
a conflict with the Zoom account?
No, there's a couple.
Okay, good.
Well, let's just plan on another virtual meeting then.
So you're saying May 2nd, Thursday, right?
8th. Yep.
8th.
The 8th.
Works.
Yeah, I can do that.
Great, thanks. That helps.
Yes, of course. And well, not seeing any hands raised. And I have nothing further. Then we'll look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Our final roll call will be Peter,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thank you.